Yeah.
So I can only hope.
Okay, I can hear you. Yes.
I can hear you too. Holy shit.
I don't know what was going on.
I'm so sorry. This happened last time as well. It was perfectly fine. I tested it and everything 2 minutes beforehand. As soon as I started the official call, it was like, go fuck yourself. It's like, hello.
Hi, how's it going?
Better now that everything's working.
For the time and for the interest.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. So you guys are in the studio right now? Yeah.
Yeah, so we're rehearsing.
We're writing new songs for the new album. So
New album. Haha. You've already told me something. I didn't even fucking ask about it. You guys are so good at interviews. I want to ask first, do you have a time restraint because you're not like at home?
No, I don't, not particularly, no.
Am I the first Australian to interview you guys for this project?
Yeah, probably.
quite possible.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Fuck yeah. Because I watched a couple of your interviews, but I think all the ones I saw, or two of the ones I saw about this project and one about Sequential Zero were with Americans.
Yep.
Mm.
Yeah, it's always been the issue. We're kind of better known overseas than we are here. We've got a bit of them here, but it's amongst our friends.
Yeah, that seems to be like an Australian band thing.
Other bands know about us.
Yeah.
That's the curse of the local band. You play to other local bands and they play to you.
Yep. And then, you don't really become a big deal here until you've toured overseas for some reason.
Yeah.
And it's taken a long time to get interest from Melbourne as well. Although we've played there quite a few times recently. Yeah, things have picked up.
I think I play you guys like every second set that I do at clubs here.
That's great.
Whether or not people want me to. People usually just want to listen to the same bands from the 80s over and over and over again. But
So I still find to corrosion without vomiting blood.
Yeah, I DJ at clubs as well, and it's the same deal.
Yeah.
So in the last year, the people have started to open up to the new darkwave stuff. We're running darkwave clubs, and it's almost all new, mostly new, and people are digging it. So
Great.
yeah,
It's fucking awesome.
The sanctuary clubs have been running warehouse parties, and we're getting 300 or 400 people, and the room doesn't stop dancing no matter what you play. So
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Full license to just do whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
I love that.
Still plays this corrosion though.
I don't.
I mean, you've got to like slip in some of the stuff. Otherwise, people are just like, I don't know any of this. Goodbye.
Didn't you hear Blue Monday? I want a refund.
All right. Well, I guess first proper question is kind of probably going to be a longish answer one. What are all of your like personal histories with music? Like, how old were you when you started giving a fuck about it? What was your first instrument? That kind of stuff.
Oh, what's the start? You start.
Let's go left to right.
All right, so I didn't have any older brothers or anything like that. My family wasn't really into music, but I did have like an uncle who was a bit dodgy, and so he bought me like Kiss records and things when I was 6, and so I wanted to play guitar obviously because they were a bit like Superman but cooler, and obviously at 6 years old you don't realize like what garbage human beings they are and how terrible their music is. It's just all this kind of spectacular thing going on. So I started playing in bands from the age of about 12, and I had numerous projects. Sort of mostly just played guitar, done a lot of projects where I just sing, play a bit of bass, and just musical taste evolving, but like the cornerstones of my influences as far as the way I create music has always been dudes like Daniel Ash and John McGeough for their guitar sound, Rick Agnew, Thurston Moore, Roland S. Howard, that kind of thing. And like all that 70s stuff like Bowie and Bolan was always like big. The Cure were probably the first band that made me go like really la for a band and just obsess over. You have to know everything and get every single and every B-side and read the biographies and know Robert Smith and Simon's birthday and all that sort of stuff when I was a teenager. So yeah, and it's just, I don't know, it's just kind of been downhill ever since, really.
I love it. Awesome. Next.
I don't know. I'm just into everything. Probably the only one here that even likes some country music.
It's eclectic.
Yeah, I'm pretty into everything, and I've been playing since I was. What was the first instrument? I got a ukulele with a horse trot on it. So I didn't get into music till I actually left school.
Wow.
Yeah, it's into a lot of what Andy was talking about there. Into when I started, and it was accessible as a player as well.
Definitely.
And
Bernard Sumner was a lot easier to recreate than like some of these Guitar Hero type.
And then I did go a bit down that Guitar Hero sort of line, but then realised it was a bit of a wank. And I don't know, I love a good song. I'm into a good song that creates emotion, or creates something where you can sort of hide or you can relate to. So I'm more about the song.
Yeah, fuck it.
And Jamie's an avid guitar collector, and he's a
Knows
guitar
all about
tech.
music.
He can build guitars and repair them, and he's quite the
He's a
wizard.
go-to man. He's a tech man.
He's very talented man. He's a singer-songwriter in his own right as well. As a solo project.
Awesome. What's the solo project?
Just under his own
Solo project.
Just under his own name.
None of your business.
Yeah, no, that's something on YouTube actually singing. So that's I know I've always written, but yeah, that's something I'll attack over the next year or so, the next couple of years.
Sweet.
So
Yeah, we saw him last night. He's really good. We were pleasantly surprised.
We all thought you were garbage.
Yeah, we were telling people.
that's behind the back. So
For me, like, my parents weren't particularly very musical, but my older brother, and my older sister were, particularly my older brother. So I got a lot of influence in music from him. So everything he liked, I liked. And we were pretty much into punk rock, 70s punk rock. That was mainly the stuff that we listened to. Some local bands, some traditional South American music kind of mixed with all that. And that's kind of what I grew up with. I did learn some music when I was in school. I think I learned to play the recorder for a few years, and that was very useful. Very.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
What do they do to punish parents? I swear to God.
Hot cross buns.
I wanted to play the guitar, but my sister was already playing the guitar, so I just picked the recorder, which was a waste of time. And eventually got into the drums when I was a teenager. Always interested in rhythms and things like that. So and I've been kind of like been coming and going up and down since then. I do also have other projects as well. So I'm gonna shout out to my other project called Drowning Mermaids, which hopefully will have a record coming up soon. So they're just playing with other bands.
Yeah, they're great. It's very like Riot Girl stuff. It's really good. A girl singer.
Fuck yeah, that's tight. What about you, Ad?
Myself.
Long career.
Yeah, very long. Fairly musical family, and my parents were quite religious, so I was going to church and singing in choirs and all that rubbish. Then I went to a music high school.
Your balls drop.
Yeah, then my balls dropped.
And
you're useless.
Freak lost interest in me, and
That's so demoralising.
so used. I went to a music high school, and I was doing trombone and piano and choir.
Did they call you tromboner?
Yeah, trombone. I had a trombone all the way through my teen years.
Another waste of time.
Yeah, it was terrible. It was always stroking.
Oh,
Yeah. Stroking your tromboner. Yeah, vibe.
And then at the high school, my final year of high school, we had formed a band, and we used to rehearse at lunchtime, and we played God Save the Queen by the Sex Pistols and A Forest by the Cure. So we played at the school assembly at the end of high school, and caused a bit of a riot, and that was pretty good.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, so from then on, I was obsessed with being in bands. So I was in a bunch of bands. I think this is band 12 or 13 or something.
And that's why you got it down pat.
Yeah. Look, there's a middle period. Like once I started having, I got a bit crazy. I was writing like 4 songs a year for probably 15 years or something. Got a bit stuck with it. But,
You're still writing.
Yeah, still writing, and I was always involved in the music industry, right? I kind of, I grew up in the Northern Territory in Darwin, and so in my early 20s there, I kind of ran the punk scene. I had a PA system, and so we've put on events, and you know, it was a pretty wild town. The average age was 25 in the early 80s, and the clubs would go all night and stuff. And, had a radio show at a club and a few bands and a good punk scene. And then towards the end of the 80s, we all moved to Adelaide and hung out with the guy from the Waste Sausage label. And yeah, a whole bunch of reprobates, basically, a whole bunch of dirty punks who would go to the masturbatorium to get enough money to buy. They'd donate their sperm to make money to get enough money.
Excellent.
But rent was $15 a week, you know. It was like we're all in a dole.
How much sperm is that?
Like $25 for a small cup. I mean, it's a good deal.
You'd know.
I didn't go because I've always been a non-drinker, so that didn't matter. I just I was the designated driver, always sober, and they'd go off and they'd go to the wank bank. And
You were a non-drinker, it means you had sperm.
yeah, that's true.
Healthy.
Yeah, so no illegitimate children out there that I know of, apparently. So, so the Adelaide punk scene got really small pretty quickly. I started doing sound for the Mark of Cain, and I recorded their demo in my shed, and then we went to Sydney and they toured there, and they got signed to Phantom Records, and I produced their first single and helped them with their first album. And then once I saw Sydney, I thought, yeah, no, I'm home. I liked the place. And so been here ever since. Yeah, involved the goth scene kind of crawled up its own ass and died in the 90s with that really horrible cookie cutter EBM stuff. I didn't like it much.
The band's dried up as well.
Yeah, the scene went kind of weird.
It was actually in the 90s in Sydney, there was a huge sort of all ages gig scene with the punk bands and the metal bands, and then there was like a lot of post-punk and gothic bands. And you had Ostia from Brisbane, you had Substitute from Adelaide, you had Cult 45 and Europagan, and all those bands from Sydney, the Gugumots, Lemon Avenue, and it all just seemed to disappear.
And the clubs too. Yeah, the clubs too. They just, there's only so many times you can hear some of those. You know, we were really into Front 242 and all the bands, you know, Ministry and all that stuff. That was great, but then there was a period that followed that. It just kind of went lame. It was weird. So so all of us that were into the cyberpunk scene, we all went off and started having rave parties in the bush. And so the whole bush doof scene formed, and then we formed a record label and a collective called Clan Analog. And that went worldwide. And so I was basically working for that. It was the DIY electronic music scene, grabbing bedroom bangers and putting them out and getting them onto mainstream labels and stuff.
Fuck yeah.
And then around about 04...
I'd add an onion to my belt.
Yeah.
Style at the time, yeah.
04, the trad goth clubs started to come back, and I started going to a club called Ascension, and then the next thing I was DJing there. And I'd formed an 80s band called Lunar Module, and we were doing like new wave originals. And then, I was well and truly back into the scene again, and it was healthy again. It was great. And I could go back to dressing up and spiking my hair, and it was good. And
that's when I met you for the first time.
Yeah, that's right. And I met Andy, and he tried to buy my Wall of Voodoo t-shirt off me.
Got this vintage Wall of Voodoo Sammy's shirt. And I never see anyone wearing that shirt. Because I fucking love that record, and you never see anyone who's into it. I saw it, I was like, oh, can I buy your shirt? He's like, nah.
What a friendship.
We
Maybe
can
the real t-shirt is friendship.
Yeah, that's right.
Won't sell sperm, won't sell shirts.
I'm a control freak. That's why I'm in charge. And then so formed Sounds Like Winter in 2012 because I was really kind of over the electronic thing. I really wanted to do post-punk. It was always in my blood. A lot of the bands that I was in the 80s was post-punk or punk, and it was in that particular vein. So it was. I wanted to do it really badly. So Andy came on board. We dumped a few questionable members and got some good ones.
Jamie.
Yeah, Jamie is
Here,
bass
then
player
left.
number 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had 7 bass players. 7 bass players.
Yeah, I heard that you had a fuck ton of bass players from another interview.
Yeah.
Apparently, one of the last was just not a great person in general.
Yeah, well, that's all right. Yeah, we lured Jamie back in, and he was always our favourite he's our favourite person, and he's kind of warm to the music now. Like I don't know, I think
I was busy before.
he was busy. Yeah, he had a whole lot of complications in his life, and we weren't as good a band either. I don't think when he first joined us. No, we weren't.
I needed to join.
The first album was a bit.
Yeah.
The first album was written by 5 different people in 10 different studios. That's why it sounds like a compilation album. And then Sticks and Stones, we were starting to come together for the second album, and that really had a bit more of a sound to it.
Yeah.
But even so, the songs on Sticks and Stones were new songs to us. Yeah, there it is. All of them without having played them live very much.
Right.
And I think it shows in the recordings that the songs are great. But when we play them live now,
They sound
everyone comments on like, "Oh my God, that's a bit different," you know. Yeah,
When we went to do the third record, we made sure we learned everything and played it live a lot before we tracked it.
So he's a
So it
mature
sounded like
song.
we do live.
Yeah,
Yeah,
which is
exactly.
what we're trying to do with this upcoming album as well. You know, rehearse it, play the songs live, let them grow.
yeah, and I'm always learning as a producer. I'm looking after quite a few bands, and every day's a learning experience. And I've gotten a lot better and learned a lot of lessons about
That record properly.
Yeah, because we made sure. I've always felt that I've always practiced the DIY ethos. You can do it yourself. You just got to you got to be meticulous, and you got to take the time and do it properly. And
Yeah.
you can't cut corners. So it's come together very nicely. We went through a sweet period, maybe 4 years or so, where we played live a lot.
Yeah.
Like 30 times a year or something stupid.
Yeah.
And
Becomes
like,
fun.
everyone was sick to death of us, to be honest.
They weren't actually.
Yeah, that was before COVID, and then COVID changed.
Yeah,
We
before
sort of slowed everything down.
we went to New Zealand twice. We went to Melbourne 5 or 6 times. We did Adelaide and we did Brisbane a few times, and it was a good period. And that, on the strength of that, we got really good and really tight, and we speak the same musical language. So the third album just really came together nicely. We were really pleased with it, and we're really proud of how it turned out, and the response to it has been really, really good too. So,
I think that you say that Australians don't know your stuff that well. I don't think I know many people who don't at this point. It could be because I don't shut the fuck up, but that's their problem, not mine. I am one of those annoying people at parties that I'll put the playlist on because I decide what's playing, and then as soon as the band comes on, I talk over the music and just tell them everything that I know about the band. So
part of it is that Australia has a different culture and attitude towards expressing what you're into. Americans will be very, and South Americans and Europeans, they'll be very effusive and very open about what they like, whereas Australians, they're like, yeah, good job, wanker. There's not a great deal, there's sort of this kind of tall poppy syndrome or something that maybe means they just don't communicate it,
And there's the other phenomenon as well, which I've noticed in Australia, is that everyone has their holy band that they discovered, that they're the expert of, and they're the only ones that like them and stuff.
Bit fucking weird. Weird.
Rather than telling everyone about this band that they've discovered, they keep it to themselves, and then feel elite as they walk around. I know all about this band, and you don't.
But before how we were cool. We had to cool. I've got records that you don't have.
That's right. Yeah, it's an extension of that for sure.
I think that attitude probably comes from, in my opinion, a version of laziness, where if you are the only one that knows about this band and nobody else does, you don't have to find more bands that nobody else knows. You can just have that one, and then you're special for as long as you need without finding anything else. or I'm a dick. Kind of both. But yeah, so Fight the Stairs, when that came out, you guys went like huge. And by the sounds of it, you kind of knew that it would be well received because you did like play so many gigs, or were you just having your fingers crossed?
I think it was a bit of a surprise to some degree, but we knew it was good. We knew that the end product was good when we
as soon as we finished recording something, I was sick of it straight away. Like
It's the worst.
I like.
Oh yeah, you
I
did
like,
get sick listening to
I
the
like
song
writing
100 times.
and I like making the songs, and then once it's recorded, and I usually very rarely ever listen to it again. But I knew that like it was the first time we'd captured. You know, with the proprietary records, I was always like, oh fuck, there was so much I wish I'd done differently. There was much less of that this time around.
Yeah, we all, every time we'd walk away from the record, then we listen to it together in a lounge room or something and go, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah.
The mix was way better. Ant did a great job on the mix. Sian helped with that as well.
Previous bass player,
But I also think it just helped that people had a chance to, like, by that stage, we'd had a few years for people to get a sense of anticipation and look forward to it coming out, instead of us going, here's our record, please listen to it. People were actually waiting for it, which was pretty cool.
We had a lot of DJs on board like yourself, you know, that like Skull Girdle, she over in the US, she did a 2-hour long interview with us, you know, just for Sticks and Stones, and then she did another long one for Fight the Stairs, and
it really is on the back. It's all on the back of like little independent, radio shows on the internet and DJs such as yourself and stuff like that. The whole thing like has been really, really cool just to see like what kind of a community comes together online, and that it's all DIY individuals. Everyone's like, that's what I really like about it. It's I used to be into the demo and tape trading scene back in the 90s and fanzines and stuff like that. And it reminds me of that. It reminds me of that, like, except obviously just facilitated on a much larger scale by the internet. And it's like cheaper than the photocopying stuff.
Yeah, I can tell you want a beer because you said lager instead of larger. I happen to work at a bar as well. If you're in Melbourne, come down. It's a rock bar.
With Melbourne, actually, we're going to help Icon launch their next European tour. So
European tour of Melbourne.
They're actually Icon going on.
Melbourne is the Europe of the world. I mean, Australia.
Okay. So on October 29th, we're going to play with Icon and ourselves and Sea Lungs, and they're basically going to be like a little post-punk festival put together.
In Melbourne?
In Melbourne.
Yes. Fuck yeah.
The weekend before, we're doing the same kind of thing in Sydney.
So that's October, yeah?
Yeah, it's October. So October 22nd in Sydney with our Icon and us and DJs and stuff, and then the 29th in Melbourne with a whole bunch of bands, probably starting in the afternoon and going through.
Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah.
It'll be exciting.
That's garage.
That is exciting. I've wanted to see you guys live. Fuck it. And Sea Lungs too. Very into Sea Lungs as well. That's because I'm obsessed with the ocean, because I was born in a coastal town in Queensland.
The ocean is the most mysterious and terrifying thing on this planet. And it's also the most romantic, and it's like there's just endless, like really sort of grim stories of like bumming and cannibalism on the high seas.
Oh, yeah.
For some reason. But,
Yeah, no, I fucks with it. I just wish people would stop fucking with the ocean. It's my thing.
That's true.
Leave it mysterious. We don't need to know everything that's in there.
Yeah.
Well, I know what's in there. It's just a shitload of Funko Pops and
Now it is. So about Mantravision, I have only seen Mantravision in press releases, and when I ordered these, it was sent via Mantravision. Can you tell me a bit more about Mantravision?
So Mantravision is basically it's my production company. That's basically it, and that's how it started. I've been mastering for electronic bands for years and years, and putting together compilation albums and stuff through Clan Analog. And so Mantravision was always there boiling away. And it's just the name I call my studio. But basically what's happened in the last 5 years or so is I've been helping, basically my ethos is to help musicians out, you know, that because I'm all about feel. If someone's got feel, they may not be technically proficient yet, but they've got feel. I know they're going to get there, and all they need is a little bit of help. And, you know, their songwriting really blooms once they've got a couple of good recordings under their belt. You know, it's kind of it builds on itself. So Orcus Nullify came to me, and I helped him out with, he'd send me mostly finished songs, and I'd do all the drum programming for them, clean up all of his guitar bits and his vocals and stuff. So basically got his first bunch of singles and his first album together.
Yeah.
And now he's fairly self-sufficient. You know, the recordings that he sends to me to finish are essentially finished songs, and I'm just polishing them. And he always had that there, and I knew he always had it. And his sound inspired me, and so I wanted to be the force behind driving that. And also the band Burnt Souls with Colin, who's in Sequential Zero with me.
Yeah.
Like a very incestuous collective.
Yeah.
One song for Drowning Mermaids.
Yeah, recorded Drowning Mermaids.
Yeah,
they did
Sea Lungs.
Yeah, Sea Lungs. So Jared from Sea Lungs sends me guitar parts and drum parts, and I put them together, and I get Andy over to record. And basically, so it's just it's an outlet for my creativity. I really enjoy producing. When I go and see a band, I can hear how they're going to sound when they're recorded, and I know what I want to do with them. And if a band really inspires me and the stars align, I'll get them in and help them out. So yeah, the project Earth Eye that I did with some guys in the US was the same kind of deal. They sent me a bunch of guitar recordings and some drums, and I cut them all up and sang over the top and did put together a little EP with them. Yeah, so it's just, you know, and it sounds like Winter's my ultimate outlet. You know, we can Andy and I share the songwriting, and I can express that part of myself, and then the electronic music part of myself, which is really big. I've got a room full of synthesizers. And Andy hates them. So I was kind of forced to form Sequential Zero because I love all the dark wave stuff. I always have, and I've always written synth pop. And so I really need to get that out there.
We don't allow him to put that into Sounds Like.
No, I'm not allowed to.
You used to get away with it more, but like I don't know.
Used to get away with it.
I'm definitely more from the punk rock end of the gothic rock, the death rock spectrum. And I think it's like we've struck a pretty good balance, like between the sort of the melancholy electronia and the spikier kind of stuff about scurvy and bummings.
Yeah. And tracks like The Wedding Feast and No Interest and Porcelain and stuff. That's where they kind of let me get away with a little bit more. Funny, they're some of the most popular songs, guys.
Oh, here we go. Here we fucking go. Sequential Zero. That's Bruce, Colin, and myself, and so I was able to express that part of myself, which is it's been very enjoyable as well, and it's all it's been quite exciting and well received. And I think it's on the back of the hard work that we put in with Sounds Like Winter that people were ready and willing to listen to something else that that we'd all done. And,
totally.
Yeah. To finish my answer, the long answer. Mantra Vision, just to your listeners, Mantra Vision is there to help out up and coming musicians. So if there are up and coming musicians out there, they can't afford to get mastered. They can't afford to get a mix done. They've got a shitty recording they've done, in a shed somewhere. I can rescue that stuff really well. I'm good at rescuing that stuff. I can make them sound better, and I won't charge them very much, if anything, to do it.
Crazy good at it and crazy cheap.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Because I'm passionate about what I do, and I was there years ago when the successful musicians were the ones that had money, and that was the story right through the 80s and 90s. And I didn't have money. Well, I I arrived in Sydney owing somebody $75, and I had to sell my trombone to fix my car.
Oh, is that what a trombone is?
Yeah, that's what a trombone. I used to not eat for 2 days a week, and I put myself through audio engineering school, you know, just by not eating.
Brian Maddox had all the fucking.
Yeah. And meanwhile, these people I knew in other bands were getting huge, but it was simply because they had backers behind them. I mean, the church had a millionaire who gave them money, and other bands I know, and I'm not going to mention their names, had very rich parents who lived on the North Shore, and it's just I believe I want to help people out, because there's inspiration, there's passion out there, and there's talent, but it's buried under inequality.
Right?
Yeah.
Private school educated people. Yeah, art is for everyone.
Anyway, enough, right?
No, I understand that. Like, the only reason that I'm not practicing at the moment is because I can't afford a studio. So, like even the cheaper ones here, I'm like, I'd also like to eat for that week. So, like, and I live in an apartment. You can't really drum in an apartment without being kicked out of your apartment.
Yeah, that has happened to me. Yeah.
Are you a real drummer?
Yeah. I'm a really bad drummer. Yeah.
Your drummer's
Just a drummer.
Yeah.
We just call him drummer.
just drummers. Sorry.
2022 is 2022.
2022. You're just drummers. Okay.
Yeah, it's a very expensive instrument to play, like $100 for every bit. So
It's plain symbols.
everything. So,
Yeah.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah, for sure. And I think with real estate also, there's less and less room to practice drums in, and there's less neighbours that are going to put up with that kind of shit as well.
Yeah. And in other parts of the world, there's for places like New York and all that, you'll have little studios where people will have just drums, and you can go and rehearse. You can rent that room for with somebody else for the month or whatever. But that kind of stuff doesn't exist here.
There are some budget studios like Modest Mouse and things like that.
Yeah.
And Sally's Sound Hole.
And Sally Sound
Sally
Hole.
Sound Hole.
We're very lucky that
shout out to Sally.
where we are. Yeah, today is we get access to the space each week because Ant works here, and so
You're at the university, aren't you?
Yeah. So luckily through my years and years of volunteering, eventually, I was able to get a job doing what I love doing. So I look after the recording studios and the video edit suites and all that kind of stuff. So it's nice to have a job that reflects my creativity, and also we can value add to my job as well. Yeah. So I don't take it for granted even for a second.
What are your thoughts on the current Australian alternative music scene? Because it feels like there's an insane amount of talent in Australia, right? Like, I'm on BANDCAMP every day, and there's a new fucking post-punk band I haven't heard of, and they sound great, and I'm like, fuck yeah. But we don't really have big festivals or anything like that here, which pisses me off a little bit.
Yeah, like the Sydney scene, it's the same here. Like we go to see bands, or we play with bands, and we're blown away by the level and the creativity,
the variety as well.
Which is exactly in different genres, not necessarily post-punk, but a bit of a mix. So and we see fantastic musicians and fantastic bands that we absolutely love. But absolutely, like there's very, very few places left to play in Sydney that are not gate kept, by certain people, or you have to know somebody, or you have to know the promoter, or there's very few places we can just play because you want to play.
There's a whole heap of venues here that unless you have management and a label or something,
you just don't get in.
You don't get to play there, and you don't get played on local radio either.
Supposed to be.
It's ageist as well, if you're not in amongst a group of 20-something-year-old guys, and
there's always been less venues in Melbourne.
It's always been, or at least it used to be. Like I've heard that that's changed. That is less and less.
We still have a bunch of venues, and we have a bunch of gigs, but nothing massive. Like there's no big festivals.
There's nothing like that.
There's been a lot of DIY shows in Resurgence though, so there's a lot of in response to that. Obviously, there's still bands that want to play, and you could go out and see a different band every night of the week. There's no shortage of bands, but people started putting on warehouse gigs and laneway gigs again. Like where a bunch of punk rock bands bring a generator and stick it in a laneway, and everyone brings their own alcohol, and it's really cool. It's rating, and it's it's actually a cooler vibe anyway. But you got to change locations every few months because the cops keep shutting them down.
Yeah, but
It's
in
like
general, it's very hard. You know, in Sydney, it's
Yeah.
very, very hard to
Yeah.
play. You know, and venues that are actually you don't have to pay to play. Like, there's a lot of fuckery going on as well.
You got to
You know,
pay to
venues-
play at venues?
Yeah. Well, we
Jeez. What is this,
So-
LA?
So venues do demand that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
quite
You've
a
got
few,
to pre-sell a certain number
Yeah.
of tickets before they'll let you play,
yeah,
and
to play, or you got to bring the sound engineer. You got to use their sound engineer and pay.
you got to
them
pay a
X
room
amount.
hire. And,
Yeah, exactly. So there's all that.
It's difficult because it's a volatile market if you're a venue owner, right? Like it's
Yeah.
not like it was back in the day when going to see a band was the only thing in town.
Yeah.
Like when I was growing up, now it's like there's so many entertainment options and everything is geared towards having you in your own home and
Yeah,
everything's
of course.
accessible and the Creative Commons and the public commons, the place where you meet and you talk and you interact, which used to be at the pub or at the gig, is now via
Online.
Messenger or
Yeah.
TikTok or what have you. And so it's become much more of a gamble, I guess, to get a venue up and running. Although it does seem that,
Things are sort of slowly seem to be more venues seem to be appearing, but from what it was like a year ago when everything sort of died, but there aren't that many venues to play for sort of smaller bands. But there are when you're comfortable and you're treated with respect and you're
I think post-COVID, though, everyone's a lot more hungry. And the shows that we are putting on are much better attended than they were. The clubs we're putting on are better attended than they were. I think a lot of people pre-2019 were really jaded and taking the scenes for granted.
Yeah.
And I think that's really turned around now. I think really people
That's
appreciate what they've
and
got.
I also hear a lot of the local bands that are just kind of recording, so that there's going to be a lot of new music coming up this year, next year potentially. That's going to be really, really good because a lot of people spend this kind of year reimagining things and reasserting and making new music. So it's some really good stuff that's going to be out.
It happened to us when we dropped the last album. We couldn't do a tour off the back of it, so we all went and did side projects.
Yeah.
And there's so many, all the bands that didn't split up during COVID have a new album.
Yeah. If you didn't split up, you're going to have a new album coming up. So there's some very interesting stuff coming up. It's just a matter of, getting this to, but it's always been like this in Sydney, hasn't it? It's always been a hard city.
Yeah.
It's a hard city to be a musician.
Yeah. The real estate's so expensive and the licensing laws are quite strict. The thing is that it's all kind of starting to change now. There's a swing back towards supporting live music and getting small venues happening. The new government's all in favour of changing the licensing laws, and I believe that things are going to get steadily better and better, especially now that we have a decent federal government.
You're right.
Yeah. I think he was just telling me something.
So telling you something, So they listened to it and they loved it, and he had a bit of a moment. Everybody wanted to hear that version, and love your vocals, your Spanish version.
I get to learn to sing in Spanish.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
it was a really interesting sort of little story with that one. But we love playing it live. It's
we got
so much fun to play it live.
Got interviewed for TV in Uruguay.
Yeah, we got a few interviews, and the guys that the guy that played the guitar in that song listened to it and really loved it. And we were supposed to send them the album, but then COVID happened, and nothing that was able to be shipped. And then
you weren't allowed to send anything to Uruguay. We wanted to go over there and maybe play and
The thing is, when you tell people that you're big in Uruguay, they think you're joking or you're full of shit.
It does sound like a line that you just kind of say, like, I have a girlfriend, she's from Canada. I don't know. I thought it was really cool. I'm kind of digging the trend of like bands not being so scared to like deviate from like very English centric kind of stuff. Like one of my favorite acts is Audit from America, but the singer's Pakistani. I'm also Pakistani, half Pakistani. So it's just cool to hear like a language I grew up with in a genre that I really dig, and people not being so scared of like doing that now.
I can think of it. We'll listen to this 7-inch by a Moroccan band.
All-girl Moroccan punk group.
And they sound incredible.
I can't remember the name of it, but yeah.
Yeah, and they'll come back to me in a minute.
A lot of good Eastern European stuff, obviously, always has been. Like anywhere where it's kind of dour, and like a lot of post-communist countries, a lot of good post-punk.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing about living in the Anglo-Saxon world. Like you just think that it's English music and then world music, and which is ridiculous. You know, it was like so much music out there, and so many other, you know, there's so many other, you know, people in other countries making music in other languages, and it's and some of it is cool, and you know, you should open your mind and hear other things. It's fine if you can't understand the lyrics.
Yeah.
Fine. Yeah.
Well, I think it's good that the goth scene in the last maybe 5 years at least, I've noticed the number of bands that sing in languages other than English is exploded. It's really, really good.
Yeah.
Predominantly Spanish, but there's heaps of other bands, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you got like She Passed Away singing in Turkish, like almost exclusively, and people are like, "Fuck yeah, I want to listen to this track." Got no fucking idea what they're saying, but
Band?
They're massive.
Belgrado.
Belgrado.
Sandwich album. Really like that one.
Yeah. So
Belgrado album where the cover looks like a club sandwich. I see it.
Yeah. See it again.
Yeah, they came here and played, you know, into a tiny room with hardly any people, and they were just so amazing.
Yeah.
And it's unfathomable. A world-class band, you know. But
Yeah, but it's good to see.
Thanks, Australia.
You know, all languages and all people, because this kind of music is heard all over the world, and you know, our music is played all over the world. You know, so obviously people are interested.
Yeah, it's funny. I DJ'd with Robbie Buck from Triple J the other night, and I had a dig at him because I as a present, I got the vinyl for the person who was turning. It was their birthday, and he goes, "Oh, what's that?" And I said, "Oh, that's my album." Oh, okay. Oh, you got a record? I said, "Yeah. We're huge overseas, not here." And he looked very shifty in his seat. It was kind of a bit uncomfortable. It's like,
he's like, yeah, certainly.
On you, Triple J.
That's a sentiment that I've heard many times.
It's for your youth network.
Yeah,
right? So it's for the kids. Kids aren't listening to Bauhaus. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Old nuts.
get over yourself.
I don't know. I remember being like 13 or 14 listening to a fair amount of it.
Oh, yeah, same, but like 30 years ago.
The thing is now there is hunger for that style of music, and now
There definitely is.
when we run our big warehouse parties, half the room are in the early 20s or even younger. So it's really weird that the goth scene now is like it's split down the middle with people over 40 and people under 30.
And more inclusive.
Every year I hold, you know, thousands of people turn 16 and get melancholy and discover the Smiths or the Cure or whatever.
Exactly.
It's never happening.
Yeah.
But I think Instagram's really made it actually happen more. I'm pretty sure it's happening more now. There's more baby back.
You said that like Kate Bush becoming so popular again.
Stranger Things.
And I'm going to all these, now I'm going to sound old, but all these people hearing music of that caliber that they've not heard before. But, you know, I'm almost jealous that they get to hear it freshly for the first time.
True.
Yeah.
I don't get the animosity towards people. Wait, camera, I'm here. Wait. Yep. All right.
Here we go.
I don't get the animosity towards like younger people finding shit through media like that. I'm like, good. If they weren't going to hear it otherwise, good.
Yeah. That's
exactly.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people bitching about that remake of the Sex Pistols that's just come out, Pistol, made by Disney.
Yeah.
And everyone's going, oh, Disney couldn't possibly get it right. How dare they do that? It's Disney. It's Disney. I watched it. It was spot on. I was there.
Also, Joe made
a good job. And John Lydon, he's a conservative, you know, and so is Kate Bush is a conservative as well. They're both Tories, you know. So
it's neither here nor
nobody owns youth culture.
Exactly. Nobody owns anything.
Yeah.
No.
It was the same thing a couple of years ago with Fleetwood Mac. People were like, there was like a TikTok or something that happened and people got like really into Fleetwood Mac, and then you have gatekeepers who are only in their 20s themselves being like, oh, you're only just hearing about Fleetwood Mac, and I'm like, calm down. Calm down.
Side B of Tusk.
It's like, I mean, there's a lot of silly. Like you say yourself, you know, you find the band that you like and it's your thing, but you know, but it's not your thing.
It's a good time to get into stuff like that because it allows for reinvention. Like one of the things about the Goth nowadays is it's very much the kind of crucible for all these ugly duckling transformations that go on, where people get to reinvent themselves outside of their eyes of this closed-in environment where they grew up. And now all of a sudden they have an environment where they can thrive and be encouraged and work on this persona that is true to who they were, that they might have had to sublimate because of their parents or because of what have you. That's part of the acceptance that you receive when you first emerge into a scene like that. Of course, I'm super bitchy. Like,
as an elder goth myself, I can tell you that in the last 20 years, there's a number of us of a certain age who have determinedly tried to encourage a positive goth scene, and I think that bitchy gatekeeper kind of uber goth thing that was going on in earlier, I think it's largely died out, and that's because a number of us have really worked hard to be accepting and encouraging and inclusive and open and have a scene where people can be happy and supported, and it is somewhere where they can feel safe. And no expectations put on them and so forth. So
back in the day when I was clubbing, it was quite positive, but it was hepatitis positive.
Gee, Bleweeb.
Everyone's shooting speed in the toilet.
Good day.
No, I did hear that it used to be a bit fucked, but I was always like welcomed, like for the most part. And if anyone looked down their nose at me, I didn't really care because everyone else had been doing it since I was a teenager anyway. So I'm like, okay, you're just like the people you claim you're nothing like. I don't really give a shit. I don't know, like I was pretty well welcomed, even to the point where people my age were calling me an elitist elder goth because a lot of the older crew were taking me in immediately, and they were like, who the fuck is this being immediately accepted by all these elder goths that we think are cunts, but they're not. I think there was just like this idea, especially perpetuated online, of like rampant elitism that was probably just like an afterthought from like what scenes were like a while ago.
Yeah, I suppose so. There was a little bit of that here. There definitely was, but yeah, it's gone now.
Well, with sorry if I'm like going on and on. Let me know if you want me to just cut it, because I have a bad habit of just having really long interviews.
We can talk about ourselves for hours.
Great, I love that. But so the whole COVID and lockdown thing was really fucked, right? In a lot of ways for musicians, especially like the live element, fucked. Practicing together in a room, fucked. Can't do it. But I feel like with like everyone being locked in their house and bored as shit, and like Twitch DJing becoming such a big deal, and people starting channels and people like scrolling for Instagram and finding all these bands that are like suddenly posting a bunch of content online because they're not doing shit in real life. I feel like it made people way more open to finding new music, like, because they had the time. Do you feel like you got a lot more of a following, especially releasing Fight the Stairs, like in the midst of a lot of that? Do you think that there was like a huge support online, especially due to like the lockdowns?
Yeah, we were actually really fortunate. The timing worked for us as far as COVID went. The first wave, it wasn't too long before it got to the point where you were allowed to have 4 people in a room.
Sydney was very different.
Yeah, Sydney was almost
pretty light.
Yeah.
It was like a golden era. You could work from home, but you weren't going to get sick.
Yeah.
And you could still kind of have gatherings.
And we could still rehearse, remember?
Because we weren't allowed more than 4 or 5 people, but that's how many in the band.
Yeah.
So we were able to rehearse. Yeah. We were able to rehearse. We were able to record the album.
Yeah.
We
had stream gigs.
We were also, a lot of the pubs geared up and started recording live stream gigs. And
I noticed that.
Yeah, we got a lot of really good footage.
Yeah.
It always sounds bad though. Like I've watched the streams and the sound quality is not great. It's weird, and it's weird. Like we did a couple where there was no audience, or did we only do one of those?
Yeah,
and that was fucking weird.
That was
really hard to try and be like, hey, Yeah, you needed the energy of the crowd. You know,
But I kind of enjoyed that. I felt unleashed to a certain extent because of that.
Unseen.
Because it was like no one was watching. But so it was fortunate we had all this great footage, and our launch party was at a really good venue. We were able to get a decent recording, and it looked really good. So we got a lot of mileage out of the live footage that we were lucky enough to get together. And so we played at a number of overseas festivals because they're online, you know.
Yeah.
So there was the Goth for Sanctuaries we did last year as well, and
European.
again, like you were saying, like all this activity with Twitch streamers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Again, this big network of like DIY DJs and you know and bloggers and things like that. And we're so grateful. You know, we're always grateful to anyone who will listen. But like the fact that everyone was connecting and sharing music, it definitely helped us a lot.
Yeah, they shared us.
Yeah.
But of course, you know, last year, then it was a bit of a dead stop there. Like we couldn't do anything.
Yeah, the second lockdown was bad.
Really hard in Sydney.
Yeah, the lockdown was really bad.
Yeah, we couldn't see each other for like 3 months, and we
Yeah.
were playing the music.
Melbourne was a lot.
Yeah,
Melbourne was worse. Yeah.
Yeah, we copped it for fucking ages. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh well.
Yeah, and then things slowed down a little bit there, but you know, and then financially, people, you know, buying albums and buying merch, that became really difficult as well because people were struggling.
Yeah, I can't. So I take care of selling the merch, our vinyl and CDs and stuff. So I sent 2 CDs off to Switzerland last week, and it cost me $26.
Yeah, the cost of shipping.
Shipping is fucked.
Yeah, so basically,
People are buying.
it completely killed our business model for merch. So that was an important secondary source of income for us because we tried to operate the band. We have our own account, and we try to operate the band to the point where it doesn't nothing comes from our daily household income. So the recordings and everything we try to self-finance. And we were able to successfully do that with so many live shows and being able to sell our merch overseas. But with Fight the Stairs, we've sold barely half of it.
Fuck. Well.
Yeah.
But again, a lot of online purchases, and it's just
it's all online. So
shifting to online. That's the way people consume music.
Yeah.
That's what a buckload of stuff during the pandemic. I think most people did. Everyone was buying dumb shit they don't need. I bought like 100 board games. What the fuck? Look at the postman shop and like have someone to talk to.
Yeah, but it's been a bit difficult for bands trying to, the press albums and make CDs and all that and sell that to the world. Yeah, shipping became.
Yeah, we spent a lot on we actually spent money on promo, and we're not even seeing any of it back at all.
Yeah, so you got the trick.
Yeah,
financially, yeah.
But it'll all come good.
Yeah. Things will settle.
Yeah.
But it's been. Yeah.
We'd really like to get overseas at some stage.
Yeah, that'll be the
overseas. That's a good segue to me asking where would each of you, because I'm sure you don't all agree, you're 4 different people. Unless you do, then it's weird, but cool. Where would you want to eagerly go first if you were to go overseas soon-ish?
Japan.
I used to always think about playing in Japan. We went to Japan a couple of years ago, not to play.
Yeah,
it was
just
fabulous.
Yeah.
I used to always dream about playing in Japan.
Yeah, I've been there twice. I went to the Gothic Castle. And it was an incredible party, and they had bands and DJs, and it was just off the hook. It was so good.
I would say South America would be incredible.
Yeah, definitely.
The audiences in Argentina, Uruguay, Brazil, they'll go nuts.
You watch any video of a concert from South America, and the crowd is so good.
Love it.
It makes us look powerfully shit in comparison.
So before COVID hit, the plan was to combine a Japan and South America tour. That would be our first one.
But now it's a bit.
It just all didn't happen.
The Wheels of Emotion. There was offers for Europe as well, and obviously Europe makes sense because you can cover a lot of ground.
Yeah.
Once you get over there, getting over there is a huge ball ache because it's so far and expensive.
But once you're
once you're there, you can hit a bunch of different territories.
And we're close to organize. Yeah. Very, very close to organize.
Whereas now it does look like, the problem with the US is visas, but right now, since the interest has grown in us, we could quite easily do a few really good shows in the US. We've got offers to go over there.
I don't want to get it.
Yeah, we'll all get shot. And the other thing is,
No, you might be okay as long as you stay away from a school.
Yeah, that's right. You don't go to school.
We shouldn't be near.
And yeah, $4,500.
Fucking hell.
$4,500 a head for a visa that's non-refundable if they decide that you.
Yeah, it's a bit tricky.
It's very tricky to get there. So I'd say we'll probably end up in South America first.
Yeah, might end up doing that.
And I have an affiliation with No Devotion Records in Mexico.
Awesome.
We're
There's quite a few DJs in South America that
we're partners with Mantravision with them, and I'm also in that band Heatwave International with members of Ministry and Panopticon and and so they've said, look, you got to get the band over to Mexico. You know, it's all waiting there. So maybe we could do that. But, yeah,
awesome.
If the US is so determined to keep us out.
In the meantime, we did play Port Campbell recently. Swings and roundabouts.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Played outside Sydney.
I don't know what the Melbourne equivalent of Port Campbell is, but like
Phillip Island.
But so just something that's like technically not here, but not really anywhere else either.
It feels a little bit different. Yeah.
The first time we played there, this girl who was across the street from the gig, and she set a fire in a dumpster.
Yeah.
And started dancing around it like this like pagan goddess. And she's obviously off her meds, and
or on her meds.
Or on her meds. The fire started to spread to this nearby tree. Everyone's running out of the gig to watch this girl dance on fire. And to be fair, which was more entertaining. That was cool. Coasties, eh?
Yeah, interesting.
It does actually sound pretty interesting. Kind of wish I'd seen it. Would we like to talk more on Sequential Zero or Sea Lungs and possible future releases?
Because Sequential Zero, the deal is that we're releasing 5 2-track singles. We've done 3. The next one is coming out mid-July. And then once we've done 5 2-track singles, we'll be combining them all onto an album with 2 more tracks and some remixes. So that's basically what's coming with Sequential Zero. That's pretty exciting. And we're probably going to start playing live fairly soon.
Sweet.
And so we're maybe in September. So that's all coming. That's pretty exciting.
Yeah, fuck yeah. I'd really like to see you guys get down here.
So you got some new single. It's coming out. The premiere is going to be on postpunk.com, and I think the premiere is on the 27th in the Northern Hemisphere, which will be the 28th here. That'll be our 5th single, and it's the best one yet. Like, trust me, it's really good.
Hell yeah.
And then after that, we're probably going to, I don't know whether we just put out more singles or we then buckle down and do an EP or an album. Seems to be that, like, the album is a bit of a dinosaur in terms of format. I like it. I like to do it records, but it seems to be that just releasing singles is really working for us in terms of maintaining a buzz and maintaining awareness and people just getting into it.
That's why we're doing that with Sequential Zero. Just a 2-track single every 3 or 4 months. And it really works because, as Andy says, the album format is kind of dead. And with Fight the Stairs, for instance, there's tracks now like Primal Smear, which is towards the end of the CD, the record, which people are only just discovering now. And there's other tracks on there like He Was Gone. No one's playing He Was Gone. So essentially, when you release an album, 4 of the songs might have some legs and get played out.
The 4 good ones.
And the rest get wasted. The thing is, like, we feel like the whole album's really good. Yeah. So if we'd really, instead of doing an album, we've done a bunch of singles, but then they ought to have been noticed probably a little bit more.
Yeah.
But so I agree with Jared's idea that you're sticking to singles, and I think it's a great idea.
I like having a record. I think it's a vanity thing for me though.
Yeah.
Like I want to hold a record. It doesn't seem legit to me until I have a vinyl. Like when I was growing up, I was pressed records on vinyl, and by the time I was playing in bands as a teenager, vinyl was gone the wayside, and it was all demo cassettes, and then it was CDs, and then to finally get a chance to do a vinyl, like
I think you should.
7 years ago.
Yeah, I think they should. I think they should. Once all the singles are out, they should put them all together.
But what we're trying to do now is we're trying to look up. We've got gigs in October, and we've never been in the same room together. So that's going to be.
Yeah. You'll be fine. Yeah.
I don't know. I get the reasoning behind like releasing singles so you can keep like people like paying attention instead of like having long periods of writing and then people kind of forgetting and getting distracted. But I like albums, like especially like Andy was saying, like having a thing. Like I collect CDs as opposed to any vinyl, but I just like having stuff and just like because I don't have a great brain. I forget. I listen to so much music all the fucking time. My brain will just slot things out. So I like having just like a big fucking drawer of stuff always, because like everything being online, it just gets lost and you forget about things, and you listen to it on Spotify, and then if you don't chuck it in a playlist or something, then it's gone. And I don't know, I like having the thing, and I like having a body of work, especially when it's been thought through.
There's a synesthetic element to having the artwork and the lyrics there. Even the colors. When I imagine a record, there's something about my perception of that record that is colored by the images that are associated with that record. So, for example, Face by The Cure is a very grey sounding record, but that's probably me projecting because the album's really grey, right? So you get the whole package when you have the physical thing, when you have the artwork, when you have the lyrics and stuff like that. Even when we used to make mixtapes or demo cassettes, the way that the handwriting was done would lodge in your mind and become associated with that music, and it gives it another element or another dimension that you don't get with a JPEG this big or whatever.
Yeah.
And back in my day.
I prefer to DJ off CDs too. I mean, a lot of DJs are using USB sticks, but no, I take my DJ wallet whenever I go and play out. And I just, it's a better format. I think it's really good.
Yeah. I've actually never DJ'd. Like I do the Twitch DJing with my laptop, but I only taught myself how to do that because I don't have the big CDJs of my own. But I've never DJ'd at a club without using CDs. My first time will be at New Order because they have the main room not set with CDJs, but they have the Goth room that I usually do with CDJs. So usually I just do that room, but this time I'm going to be in the main room, so I'm going to have to bring a USB or something, but learn how to use one of those.
It's not the same. It's not the same at all.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess different folks like different stuff. And like that's something I guess I kind of like about BANDCAMP is that it's kind of like a collection, like a physical collection-ish, because it's still there and it has your collection that you can see and kind of scroll through. And they just put this new feature where you can use it kind of like Spotify and queue stuff up that you want to listen to from the albums that you own. And I don't know, I think that's kind of cool. And
other artists, and so you get a kind of a
It's a great platform. Yeah, it is really good.
Yeah,
so
like
new music, that's where I go. Rather than I don't have Spotify or anything like that. Like BANDCAMP is the place to, because they actually pay the artists, some something. It's good.
Yeah, I have that's how I find most new music as well. I just like you can set searches that you've searched. Like say one of mine is post-punk Melbourne, and that just comes up in my newsfeed whenever there's new shit under that. And there's always new shit coming out all the time. And I reckon I'm going to make a whole video on like how to use BANDCAMP to find new music, because I'm sick of having to give people Spotify playlists because I don't want them to use Spotify.
Yep.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
Let us know actually if there are any Melbourne post-punky bands that you'd like to see, because we're still filling the bill for the 29th. So
there's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
They're not going to all be available. So, yeah, if we keep fire off a bunch of emails, one of them will hit. So,
well, I can just chuck you a Facebook message with like 10 or so that I reckon would fit.
I'll put them on to Jared and he can try and get hold of them, yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Jared's the Melbourne wing of Sea Lungs.
He's the musical genius behind it. Like he just sends me the songs and I sing on them and Ed mixes them. So he's really the brains behind the outfit.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. And he's recently come on board as Mantra Vision's promo guy, which is very kind of him.
It's been pointed out by others, especially Michelle or Skullgettle, as you know her, that literature and philosophy is a big lyrical contributor. What are your favorite writings, and who are some of your favorite thinkers or like topics of thought that you prefer to put around Sounds Like Winter?
I like to write about historical or sort of social or even metaphysical concepts rather than like first person stuff when I can. Of course, obviously the first person stuff creeps in, but like I've always been into like there's a sort of a lineage that runs through people like William Blake and Herman Hesse, all the way through to Murakami and chaps like that. There's this kind of it's the metaphysics and it's the science of the humanity. So these people are really, really insightful about the human condition, but not in a way that is, the language is very universal and it's very poetic as opposed to being clinical. And I really appreciate that. But I'm really fascinated by history and certain periods of history, particularly like sort of like the late Victorian era and the first Gilded Age, Second Industrial Revolution, the birth of the labour movement, pre-World War One, Russian Revolution. There was so much shit going on, and it really shapes the modern world in a way that we're still wrapping our heads around. And I find there's just so much you can write about with that kind of stuff. And then, of course, like anything to do with bombings and scurvy and cannibalism
And shipwrecks.
and shipwrecks, like
Yep.
yeah.
No, I fucks with that.
Yeah, and I think we all have a very similar taste. Like you mentioned all those authors, they're my favourite authors.
Yeah,
they're your favourite authors. We swap books all the time.
Yeah.
We both we're like I've always got my nose in one book or another. At the moment, I'm completely obsessed with Ian M. Banks, but and as far as as far as the lyrics that I write, it's kind of like laying bare my deeper, darker feelings that I've experienced in life. To be honest, right now I'm a very happy person, but I wasn't always that way. So I can tap into that, and that's what I like to, And I think part of why I'm personally happy, I'm speaking for myself, is that I've always had music as an outlet to express that side of myself. And I kind of, my lyrics are a little bit more basic, down to earth and upfront. And
like I was saying to you last night, you're actually a lot braver than me because like you're very direct in that way. And whereas I like to tell stories in order to give myself a little bit of distance, I admire that capacity. And
the thing is, we both admire each other's lyrical style. So it's really exciting, to that's why we kind of rewrite 50% of the lyrics each pretty much. And some of the songs we'll do a verse, chorus, or he'll sing a whole song and I'll sing a whole song.
Yep.
And I think it works really well. And plus also our two voices, they sound great separately and they sound really good together as well. I know Andy doesn't like the sound of his own voice.
Nobody does.
But nobody likes it. I'm really sick of mine. But
there's a reason I don't edit my own videos because I can't fucking stand it.
I know.
So I push Andy as much as I possibly can and to get him, singing as much as I am, because he is, I really enjoy what he does and I think he brings a lot to the band.
I get that out of my system with Sea-Lung's part as well.
Yeah, well,
And with Hal and other.
Sea-Lung's, Andy, I watch Andy, because I'll record his vocals, I'll watch him unleash himself. It's Andy unleashed.
Jared writes in his fucking key, we have to go all the way up here. Yes, so, yeah.
He screams right through the entire song. It's great. Very enjoyable. We asked it up if we could do a track live if you wanted to.
That would be awesome.
I don't know how it would come through this, but I think that the microphones on these Macs are pretty good. So
They're all right.
You can try and then see if it sounds good. Like if it doesn't.
Yeah, if it doesn't sound good, don't include it. Yeah.
That said, my partner who edits my videos actually edits music himself anyway, so he can probably do something.
Yeah, to make it sound better.
I don't know what he can do, but he can figure shit out usually. Yes. Any advice for musos maybe holding themselves back from getting their shit together to do stuff?
There's only one place where you will get any good at playing music, and that's on stage.
Yep. Yeah, do it, especially for female musicians. Like, there's a lot of doubt. Like, you got to be really good to be on stage, or otherwise you, either you're really good, otherwise you don't belong there. Well, don't. Like, there's so many dudes that know 3 chords that are on stage.
I want to.
So yeah. So just go on there.
I can't play for shit.
Practice for 2-3 months and then get on stage and just go for it.
And I think
it doesn't matter.
Be confident to write your own material. And it is a bit of a crapshoot in life if you're going to meet the right people to perform with. Like, I've been super lucky to meet like Ant and Letitia and Jamie, because like I digged around doing solo projects and aborted bands for years and years just because the right people are hard to come by. So if you're fortunate enough to have people that you can collaborate with, it's worth holding on to and worth cultivating that relationship. And create your own material. Like it's fun and it's cathartic and
it's also hard and difficult, but it's all part of the journey. If you want to do it, just go for it. Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Stop.
A bunch of the bands that were glorified from the past were pretty shit when you come to think of it anyway. But everyone loved them.
Pretty shit, and then they got good eventually.
And quite a lot of them, when they got good, became shit.
Yeah,
that's right. Shit. Like there's too much talent. Talent isn't overabundant. Like, like I prefer something that's interesting to something that's technically accomplished or well executed. It's the mistakes and it's the foibles and the
energy on stage
that make it interesting. The energy and stuff. You should, man.
I think that's the difference that I find with like I do like some technical death metal, but like a lot of it that I listen to, I'm like sleeping because I'm like, yes, you can do the thing.
Gothic rock sounds way better, like or early Creative or early Sepultura or something like that. The Caveman, the technical death metals leaves me cold. I like the old school shit.
There is some tech death that I'm into, like First Fragment. They went like real weird with their last album, and I loved it. Like there was a flamenco sounding bit, and I'm like, sure, you can do that if you want, because it's your fucking album.
Atheists were pretty technical, and you had stuff even like Carcass during the necroticism era had some really cool weird time signatures going on, but it was untutored. It wasn't like millions of scales. It was just like the time signatures were weird because they didn't know they were breaking the rules, which is really cool. No,
it's great. There was talk of possibly re-recording Initiate. And I would love to hear like Bone Man or Distance Between or something like that revamped. Is that still something that you are considering?
Maybe. I don't know. Here's the thing though, right? Have you ever heard when bands do that? Have you ever heard a version that you prefer to the original? Even if it's better performed and I don't think
they're usually good in different ways.
That's true. It's like Iron Mask, for example, by Christian Death, right? Which redoes all the songs from Only Theory of Pain, and it sucks. Like, it kind of sucks. Like, the songs were perfect as they were. And I'm not saying the songs of Initiate were perfect because they're pretty far fucking from it. But I don't know, man. People tend to associate a record with a period in their life. There are some that I'd like to revisit, though. There's some good stuff on there that didn't get the recording or the time in the oven that it deserves.
It's unfortunately, it's just a matter of time and energy. Given a certain bucket full of time and energy, we'd like to spend it on new stuff.
Yeah.
I'd love to revisit the Bone Man and Ishmael's Bones and any other songs with bones in them.
just bones, boners.
Songs, it'd be really good to, and even a couple of the tracks on Sticks and Stones. I really love to do the version that we do live now. But it'd be nice, but no.
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty hard. Maybe one.
Just wanted to ask because I remember a few years ago you were like, "Oh, maybe."
We're going to reintroduce. We're going to start playing some of those songs in the set again.
Yeah.
So probably the best, the closest thing you'll get is that you'll hear the way we play them now and reinterpret them. Because we haven't played Ishmael's Bones for a very long time, and that's a really good one.
We still play Porcelain a fair bit.
Yeah. So we try and get some back into the set, and they'll sound, beefier.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
I think. Oh wait, no, I had a mean one. Okay, the last one. This is the last one, I swear, and it is about live stuff. So then that's a good segue into you doing the live thing. So you guys have a very keen interest in doing live stuff. I know some bands are pretty happy to just release and not care too much about the live thing. So just to be cruel, if you had to choose between never playing live again and never releasing new music, which one would you choose?
Never release music. I only make music to play live.
Yeah, we love playing
That's
live.
why I do it.
Yeah. We love playing live. It's incredible.
It's the only,
Yeah.
The recordings is nice.
Once we get to write new songs, that's like I said, the writing is the favourite part for me, and playing it. Once it's recorded, all I can do is go, oh fuck, I would have done that differently. Fuck that up. And nobody else notices, but I notice.
He has an interesting relationship with the past.
I think all of us really enjoy playing live, and it's the thing that really drives us to the energy you get from the audience, the whole, it's a beast,
And you get free drinks.
You get free drinks sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where anything can happen, you're live, you're there. If you make a mistake, you got to figure out if you got to work with all sorts of conditions in all sort of spaces. And I think it's part of the fun.
Yeah. Also now we couple of years ago we entered into that era where we're all feeling very confident with ourselves. We're feeling a little more self-assured, and it shows in our live show that we're there and we can actually unleash and have a really good time and not be self-conscious.
Okay.
And I think once a band reaches that point, that's when they actually start to put on good shows.
Yeah.
And I feel like we do put on a good entertaining show these days. So and which is why numbers seem to be growing and growing for people who want to see us, and we want to keep that going. So that's our choice. 100%.
It's people are interested in recordings. It's people are interested in the idea of legacy and leaving something behind. And obviously you want to hear music and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But the thing is, this whole idea that when I'm dead, people will still be able to hear the music. I won't care about because I'm dead.
So true.
Yeah.
Imagine if you end up a ghost and you're stuck here, and then you end up just caring about that for eternity.
Oh. Now I'm not going to be right.
Fuck you! I just like ruining people's day. Well, I'm going to leave all the questions there if you guys want to do the live thing.
Yeah.
No, awesome.
Go for it.
Play.
You want a song?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fuck yeah. Thank you. Pardon?
Sound all right? Did that
Yeah.
sound all right?
Probably not as good as it would have been.
It was tricky. We weren't sure where to put the laptop in the room where it would work. And I think
Fair enough. It's going to have to tide me over until you said October 29th? You're claiming Halloween. Okay.
Halloween, I no doubt the New Order will want to put something on Halloween evening, I suppose. But we'll come down afterwards if you are.
Yeah, it's likely that New Order will have a Halloween event on. So, official after party!
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm 100%, if both of those things on are at the same day, taking the day off work. Because, as I said, work in bars, so usually I'm working nights, but they can get fucked on that night.
Thanks very much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. It was really nice to talk to all of you.
Yeah.
So it'll take so long to edit this because it's like over 2 hours. Yeah. So I'm sorry if it's not out within a week because combing through it over and over again is going to take ages.
My favourite thing, the punters aren't going anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. As long as it's out by October, I guess. Okay, I'm going to let you guys go. Thanks again for chatting with me, and sorry for all the Zoom issues. It's not awesome, but we made do. So thank you for your patience there as well, and have a great night. Hope you enjoy the rest of it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers.
See you guys.
Bye.